Saintess summons skeletons. By Morn. Chapter 371, Happy Birthday. Sofia flew up while Astelia stayed on the ground. Since Sofia had the unlife runes as a safety measure and Astelia did not, she was the one who would act as bait while the vampire focused on defense. I see him. Summoner, LV.300+. Scriptures Pawn, the masked elf. He was struggling, twisting in pain under his long cape and randomly teleporting around, his image flickering through the ruins. Impossible to hit like that. I need to bait him into the rot. Was all that Sofia had time to think before it noticed her, and before she had time to blink, the masked person was in front of her. A clawed hand on a pale arm shot out of the figure's long black cloak. Sofia was not moving, so the attack harmlessly curved around her, the figure then disappeared again, teleporting somewhere else. It all happened so fast that Sofia did not even have the spare time to activate Iridian Rot, let alone the light to spread it. Astelia was right, he's going to be impossible to hit without tricks. And I need to maintain contact for a few seconds to get all the mind parasites. Good thing I have plenty of tricks. Teleporting figure found Astelia and teleported near her a few times, but every time, Astelia managed to ride on the mana tracks of his teleportation right as he arrived, effectively exchanging places with him. Sofia tried to time the activation of her light spell and rot with Astelia teleporting away, but it was hard to be confident not to hit her, and after his teleportations, the masked figure was only there for a fraction of a second before being gone again. Sofia watched the deadly teleportation ballet going on in the ruins, and when she was confident, having prepared multiple spells ready to activate in advance, unleashed the rod on Astelia's position. The rod hit the cloaked figure. The cloak stayed where it was, and an emaciated pale figure wearing rags and a mask appeared before Sofia once again, free of rot. Using her recently acquired short-distance teleportation summon self, Sofia teleported a few meters back directly into a new pillar of light she just unleashed. The teleporting figure rode along on the trail of Sofia's teleportation, appearing closer to her than ever. Using his instincts, the light hit him, covering him in rot, but he was too close, within the space-curving bubble of March of the Envoy, and his claws struck several times, shredding Sofia to bits, reducing her health to nearly zero before she could try anything else. Small chunks of bloodless Sofia flesh and bones rained from the sky. Although her being still alive was questionable to anyone but herself, she could still see through her mana senses, and knew she could still cast skills through her blood light veins if needed. We only need to wait for the rot to empty his mana, but can Astelia survive that long? I need to bait him around. Sofia started summoning blood anywhere she could, as long as it was far from Astelia. Every time a big bubble of blood appeared, the rot-covered figure would teleport to it by instinct, giving Astelia some breathing room. I'm running out of mana. Health, 859/85 980. Stamina, 12/21 Mana, 29 684/417 100. From her spot on the ground, where the diced bits of her body were spread around, Sofia closely monitored the two teleporting mages. He has to be almost out by now. Suddenly, the mana of Astelia swelled and was propelled hundreds of meters in the sky. That's her defensive trump card. So long as he doesn't reach the fake moon, she should be safe. It seemed to work, as the teleporting figure kept teleporting around Astelia but never seemed to be able to appear anywhere nearby. Sofia counted the seconds. She knew that Astelia's defensive spell, Mastermind Within, lasted for exactly 60 seconds after activation. Whether the rod had finished emptying the pawn's mana by then or not, Sofia had to do something, or Astelia would likely be dead the instant her defensive spell ended. It's good that he doesn't realize I'm still alive. All right, get ready, scribe. I hope they're also ready in there. We said 6 seconds, they can't be a second late or it won't work. 10 seconds before the end of Astelia's defensive spell, Sofia started channeling an explosive angel's bolt through her blood light. 6 seconds, despite the lack of an intact head, a sharp pain assaulted Sofia's brain. The scribe was purposefully bypassing system rules to inflict soul damage to Sofia and thus to Perith as well. This was necessary to contact Perith, who could not be joined in any other way, as he was currently in the margin. 3.5 seconds left, Sofia released the exploding bolt on the last bits of herself. She reopened her eyes 3 seconds later, lying in the charred dirt, revived by the runes, and instantly summoned a huge mass of blood above her with almost all of her remaining mana, keeping exactly 50 points around for later. Astelia's defensive spell ended, leaving her vulnerable for a few seconds. Thankfully, the masked figure appeared atop of her, drawn in by the blood. It still had mana to teleport. But he was not the only one teleporting in this position at this instant. Take your surprise birthday present. Out of nowhere, a giant shockwave tore through the fabric of space itself. Perith had teleported to Sofia, riding a small flying dragon, itself holding a thin girl in its claws. The sharp reflexes and insane speed of Saria in her dragon form allowed her to instantly turn in the direction of the rot-covered individual, and just as the figure was about to teleport away once again, it was hit across the face by a resounding slap and pinned to the ground by a dragon, a skeleton, and an Alith. The slap of absolute shame would only prevent the individual from moving for 1 second, but it was enough. Bookie was already out in his book form by himself, and, siphoning the last bits of mana from Sofia's body, summoned Crowy in the palm of her hand. Sofia did not have to do anything except release the long-before channeled effect of Saintess Madness. The skill, which was now level 2, had gained a new effect. She could spend 1 minute to channel a specific effect in advance, and on the next activation only, be certain to get this element instead of a random one. Sofia's arm moved by itself and sent Crowy flying for the pinned teleporter with the effect she had prepared in advance. Space, anchor, for 10 seconds, prevents teleportation. Crowy hit the enemy and exploded. No more teleportation. Sofia jumped up. Despite Perith, Saria, and Alith all dogpiling onto the frail-looking and rot-covered summoner, the instant the effects of the slap ran out, he managed to send all 3 of them flying. Even without teleportation, he was still over level 300, he lunged at Sofia. For an instant, Sofia thought the battle was over. She had nothing left, the enemy was too strong despite everything. She could only throw herself at the attacking enemy and hope that even a short contact would be enough to get rid of all the mind parasites. Her extended hand reached the summoner as his clawed hand reached her. She expected to die again, but to her surprise, her hand landed on the throat of the other one and she was unharmed. He stopped moving. Sofia was assaulted by a rain of notification informing her that the soul parasites were being killed by her blessing. Hundreds of them. She felt foreign mana around the summoner. Following the trail, Sofia saw Astelia. She was in a bad state, overexerting herself, flaming blood flowing from her face. Yet, she was spending all the mana she had left to pin him in place with her specialization. Perith appeared near Sofia again, and his first reflex was to send a greater heal in Astelia's direction. Finally, after 3 seconds of an awkward standoff and as Saria and Alith just managed to return to the scene, Sofia got one last notification. You have been affected by soul parasite. But your skills eliminated the intruder. The rot-covered man fell unceremoniously on the ground like a puppet whose strings had been cut. No kill or murder notice, thank the lords. Sofia immediately activated her ring from the second trial to suck all the mana around and get rid of the rot. Is it already over? Saria asked. Yes, we got him, Sofia answered. That's Scripture's pawn. Alith said as she walked up to the limp body. But the first to reach Sofia and the man was Astelia, who teleported right there and fell on her knees near the collapsed man in rags. She reached for the creepy mask and ripped it off of the man's face, throwing it away behind her in the same movement. Uncle Nicey. Chapter 372, 'Tis I. The pink shield in the sky crumbled and Belly Genus appeared near the group, looking disheveled and exhausted. I shall abstain from asking unnecessary questions, this was beautifully done. Let us return. Is he going to be all right? Astelia interrupted him, which he took in strides. Yes. His soul is extensively damaged but will recover in a matter of hours. His link to scripture was completely severed, there is not a trace of essence left, he explained. Wait, did we just miss an opportunity to steal another one of scripture's essences? It was worth it to save Astelia's uncle instead, though. And this is really all I know about what's going on out there, so not much of anything new. Hopefully this is enough of a setback that scripture stops bothering me for a while, Sofia explained to Astelia. It was good that I left when I did, then. I haven't returned to the embassy often after we met in the moonlit castle, the ambience in Skirich had already turned a bit awkward, Astelia commented from the other side of the bed. The 4 girls were waiting, sitting around the sleeping cardinal in Astelia's room, with Perith silently looking over them from a corner. Sofia had made sure that everyone was parasite-free, and now they were just waiting for Cardinal to wake up. To think he, of all people, would get caught, Astelia sighed. The soul parasites are sneaky even if you know about them, but it's true that I didn't expect him to get caught like that, especially after the warning letter I sent him. Why was he even out there investigating the plague? Sofia asked. Uncle Nicey is. He's always got to put his nose into every suspicious thing he sees. He spends all his time helping random people, playing doctor, investigating crimes, so much so that he often neglects everything else. He has been at the same level for a very long time, not because of a failed trial, but because he never took the time to actually do it, Astelia answered while she observed her sleeping uncle. He was surprisingly trustful when Sofia met him. I remember he gave her the money for the blood in advance along with a storage item to put the blood in just like that, telling her to bring it back filled later, Alith chimed in. Sofia nodded. That did happen, yet. The money really saved our asses too. I'm pretty sure we would have died against the Siren Queen if not for your mithril weapons. He's like that. Now that I think about it, it's likely that he got your letter, Sofia, and decided to investigate the church himself as a result, not wanting to endanger anyone else. Anyway, thank you for helping me save him, I'm indebted to you for, really, Astelia told them with a deep bow. Saria waved her off, it's nothing. Just helping a friend. Besides, we had our own reason to deal with this issue, and Sofia's part of the reason this even happened to him in the first place, so really, we did nothing but set things straight. Hoy! Well. Saying I'm the reason feels like a bit of a disingenuous shortcut. It's not like I ever wanted to have to deal with this asshole of a god at all, but it's also not completely wrong. Not that I could have done anything differently, though, besides not sending that letter, but I doubt things would have gone better for him if he had to find out about the parasites the hard way. Hey, I said you were part of the reason, not that it was your fault. It's only his own fault, Astelia jumped in, he's more than old enough to handle himself. That, I am, the bedridden vampire confirmed, his eyes shooting open and his mana expanding through the room. Uncle Nicey. Astelia threw herself at the pale vampire on the bed the second he sat up, and he reciprocated the hug despite still looking a bit lost. I'm happy to see you too, Stelly. Already up? That was faster than the headmaster predicted. After a few seconds of a tight embrace, Astelia let him go, her eyes shifting around like she was embarrassed of what she just did. Cardinal looked around, fixing his hair by replacing it behind his long ears and patting Astelia's head with his other hand. His eyes stopped on Sofia, another familiar face. You seem to be doing well. I believe your presence here answers a number of my questions. It does? That means. So you do not remember a thing? Sofia asked. Well. Truth is, I remember everything very well up to a point. Then nothing. But clearly, something has happened. I am relieved, though, to see my niece still so young. I must not have been gone very long. You were under Scripture's control for 10 to 15 months, by our estimates, Saria chimed in. So I really was. I should have known I was in over my head. And I suppose you five present here are the ones responsible for bringing me back. Surprisingly, the fastest answer came in the form of a nod from Perith, whom he had acknowledged in the head count. I thank you, sincerely. I will repay you all in due time. How did they get you? Astelia asked, distancing herself from the patting hand, her face absurdly red. Was it the oracle? Cardinal frowned. Perhaps, I do not know. I was investigating the plague. Spurred by Miss Sofia's incredibly helpful letter, I managed to avoid the soul parasites and to start distributing a preventive brew to the civilians, for lack of an immediate cure. Afterwards, I traced the source of the spreading back to Einzon's quarantined Holy See. I managed to slip inside of the barrier with relative ease, but to my surprise, the headquarters of the church were devoid of life. As if every last paladin, priest, and servant of Scripture had vanished off of the surface of this planet. I thoroughly combed the place, until I found myself in their strange underground prison. Sofia cut him off. Prison? Not dungeon. Not in the least, no, Cardinal answered. Was it a dungeon before? That is an interesting discovery. There were no monsters, as far as I've observed. Simply a large abandoned underground complex in abyss. The bottom of which I quickly reached, stepping on piles of shredded bones. I was curious at the time, intrigued by a set of doors which I could not feel or teleport through for unclear reasons. I remember clearly grabbing the round handles. And that is it. End of story. Next thing I know, I woke up here, surrounded by a cortege of elegant young ladies. You seem very unfazed for someone who just went through that and lost more than a year of memories, Alith commented. Oh, I have been through much worse, he answered with a laugh. He has been through much worse, Astelia confirmed, nodding very fast with a terrified expression. Piles of bones and a door, that much I remember as well from my rebirth as an apostle. Supposedly there was something or another sealed down there, I think? Didn't the magisterium say something like that? I'm not quite sure, he did spout a lot of nonsense. Was there a body down there? With a pile of dead zombies? And a sword? Sofia asked. A body? Oh. So that is how you escaped? Most interesting. But there was no such thing, no, only broken bones, heaps of them, not the slightest hint of flesh, shattered armor, or anything else, really. Well, it makes sense that they recovered the corpse, but to get rid of the zombies too. Now, however, Cardinal disappeared from the bed. His voice reached the girls from behind the room's door, which he opened, now fully dressed in his usual rhombus-patterned yellow and black outfit. I would appreciate hearing about your side of the story. This place. We are in Brythal, are we not? Seeing affirmative nods, he continued, I shall extend my thanks to the old sage as well, then. I believe my system log shall reveal plenty of things about my lost year or so, but a direct account of the happenings is always the best place to start, so let us discuss this in a more joyous environment, shall we? I am also quite thirsty. How? Do you still have a storage item on you? Saria asked as she wondered about the same thing Sofia did. Dear, my class is summoner, I am the storage item. I'm just surprised that scripture did not rob you blind, Saria added, he seemed to have access to your skills. Well, he might have been able to use the simpler ones, yes, but divinity or not, there is little to no chance that he could have decoded a system specialization with 500 years of upgrades in so little time. Besides, my scribe would sooner die than allow anybody else inside my realm. Chapter 373, Answers from Beyond. In the salon of Astelia's apartments, after learning of his attack on Sofia and her students, then of the events of earlier that day, Cardinal scrolled through his system logs. This is proving to be less useful than I thought. There are a few monster kills in there, and this is most of it. I assume, from this, that my person was primarily used as a tool to hunt you down, Miss Sofia. Things are better this way, I suppose. At least he wasn't indirectly responsible for slaughtering more orphanages. As the discussion continued, Astelia eventually brought Sofia apart to discuss something in private. She wanted to share the secret of the Academy's hunt for some level 500 person with Saria, Alith, and Cardinal, which they had kept under wraps until now for fear of antagonizing Belly Genus. Now that the immediate threat of Scripture's pawn was removed, it would be best to let everyone know of this other issue. Sofia thought about it for a moment. We should probably tell Zire too, then, she will want to help us if anything happens, it's better that she knows what she could be up against. Astelia nodded, go get her while I get my uncle up to speed with the token competition. All right. Astelia returned to the salon while Sofia left the apartments. To her surprise, a white-bearded old Exidian in a long robe was waiting for her just outside of the room, absent-mindedly looking out the windows of the stairwell of the teacher's tower. Sofia closed the door behind her and walked up to the headmaster. You heard us, I take it. Do you think I would be oblivious to the happenings inside of my home? Belly Genus softly answered, still looking out the window. Then what? Are you going to ask that we don't say anything? No. In fact, I will do nothing. I am only here to ask you if you really want to go down that path. Sometimes, knowledge is a curse. Are you ready? Sofia asked in return. Ready. Belly Genus looked at Sofia. Yes. Are you, Tartaros, the Emperor, and Elizabeth, ready to catch that person, like you planned? We have been for a while now. All we need is for them to slip up. You only need to wait until the competition's prize distribution and the time will come. We will do our best to ensure everyone's safety. I see. Good, good. There shouldn't be any issue with telling them, then. Sofia concluded, we're not going to compromise your plan. Unless the fish can hear us talk here. They cannot possibly. All right, then. Thank you again for helping us rescue Cardinal. We owe you, so I'll help with this plan of yours if I can. I suppose you still won't tell me who the fish is and what they have to do with my students. I fear. Sofia rolled her eyes and saw a weird thing atop the stairs on the upper floor as she did. Some sort of an iridescent pole. Say no more, I get it. Just be ready to intervene anytime, then. I don't want to die because that person decided to attack when you were out polishing your scales or something, Sofia told the headmaster as she headed up the stairs towards Zire's floor. The headmaster's mana disappeared as she was halfway up the stairs. She looked back, and he was gone. But it's still waiting for me up there. The student from the deep. It was waiting right outside of the stairs. Exactly like in Sofia's memory, an iridescent upright pole twice her height, on 5 spindly stick-like legs, with a bundle of grape-looking bulbous things dangling from the top. Waiting for me. So far the creature had been quite elusive. It did not appear for every single of Sofia's public classes, sometimes appeared for other teachers' public classes, and where exactly it came from or returned to afterwards was simply impossible to track. All it ever did was sit at the same place, in the amphitheater, and leave when the time had come. Sofia cautiously approached, and the bundle of grapes wiggled, causing her to stop dead in her tracks, still a dozen steps away from the creature. Something fell from the weird bundle of grapes. A folded piece of paper, slowly falling and landing on the last step of the stairs. What? As Sofia's eyes were focused on the piece of paper, the form of the creature faded away into nothingness. This had to be the strangest encounter I've ever had. I was worried it might attack me or something, but a piece of paper? Sofia walked up the last few steps and bent over to pick up the small folded piece of paper. There was a cute drawing inside, that Sofia clearly recognized as Opal's style of drawing. Did it steal a page from Opal's notepad? It was a drawing of Lola sitting next to the other students of Sofia's class in the public class amphitheater. Behind Lola, there was a sinister-looking old man, looming over her, his hands firmly planted on her shoulders. This. I'm pretty sure. This guy was in one of the paintings in Lola's mansion. But why would? Did Opal really draw this? Is this the fish everyone is looking for? Sofia folded the piece of paper and stored it. After waiting a bit at the door, she quickly informed Zire of what was going on in Astelia's room, and told her to tell Astelia to start without her. Zire was a bit stunned by the sudden encounter, but Sofia had no time to clarify more. She quickly made her way out of the teacher's tower, and flew to the student dorms. She felt she needed to clarify things immediately, and the next day the students would go for their next event with a stand-in teacher, so it had to happen now even if it was already night. Sofia woke up Topaz and Opal. They had their own room for two. They were surprised by the unexpected awakening, but seeing that it was Sofia, they seemed to calm down. This was nothing out of their expectations for their crazy teacher. Sofia showed the drawing to Opal. Did you draw that? Opal seemed shocked to see the drawing. This is clearly her style, Topaz chimed in, still half asleep, but this isn't the same paper as her notebook. Opal nodded at her sister, then she handed the paper back to Sofia, shaking her head. So it's not you? Again, Opal vigorously denied. I see. I suppose that deep creature has been learning more than just what's being taught in class. Where did you even get that? Topaz asked, weirded out, and who is that creepy old man behind Lola? Opal raised a hand. She crawled on her bed to grab her pen and notebook at her feet, and scribbled a few words. Lola's family ancestor, she showed me paintings during the party. Said she had only ever seen him in paintings. Lola's ancestor. Sofia had a flashback to her discussion with Lola in the Hallowed Trees dungeon. My family has been in the art trade for generations. Our great ancestor is a very famous smith and sculptor. He helped build the Death Church, the Imperial Palace, and a lot of the older parts of the city. And then when pressed about the issue last time with Astelia, Tartaros had told us a few details. The person we are trying to bait out of hiding and terminate is a traitor of the Empire and the reason for the late Empress passing. They were last identified by the system as a level 508. A traitor. Not here but. Lola was speaking about him in the present tense. Not dead. Helped build the Imperial Palace. Reason for the Empress passing. And. The weird presence. That feeling of being observed. It only happened twice. Once after the Priest of Death left when Astelia's student tried to poison Shaili. And once in Lola's mansion. I need to go check on Lola. Sofia told Opal and Topaz to get back to sleep, and let her graveyard skeletons carry her through the floor. Lola was sharing a room with N. Sofia appeared in their room from the floor. N immediately woke up. Teacher. Sorry to wake you up, N, you can go back to sleep, I just need to have a talk with Lola. Is she in trouble? She might. The subject of conversation also woke up from the chatter. I what? Get dressed, Lola, we need to have a talk, the sooner the better. Why, what is going on? Don't worry, alright, you did nothing wrong, but this needs to happen now. Just get dressed and follow me. Chapter 374, Family Secrets. Sofia told Lola to settle down in her room, leaving her with Perith, while she quickly ran up the stairs back to Astelia's room while continuing to channel an unlife rune she had started working on when she had gone to wake up Lola. The entire group was quite animated, talking about the competition and the information they had just learned. Alith was the one who had opened the door. Sof, you're back, what were you? I'll explain later, Astelia, can you lend me the earrings right now? Sofia called out from the entrance. Hey? Sure, Astelia answered without even asking why. She floated up to Sofia while taking out the earrings of lies. She handed them out to Sofia. Just be careful, when you're wearing them. I got hit by their curse once, and it was not a good time. Of course. Thank you, Asti. I'll bring them back as soon as I'm done. Sofia left, running back down the stairs again. And just like that, she's gone, Cardinal commented. Well, yeah. That's Sofia, Saria added with a shrug. She looked a bit worried. She is your sister, are you not going to go help her with whatever urgent thing she is doing? Cardinal asked in a curious tone. She's got Perith with her. If she needed more help she would have asked us. Notice how she asked for Astelia's earrings instead of asking for her to come directly with her. She probably doesn't want to endanger us with whatever crazy stunt she is trying to pull. But we're still in the academy anyway, so how bad could things really go? Cardinal sipped on his tea without further comments. Sofia ran down the stairs, swapping her earrings with the ones she had just borrowed. She counted on their ability to see through lies and trickery to make sure that nobody was manipulating Lola from the shadows. The unlife rune was just there because she had a bad feeling about this whole thing. That the warning came from a creature of the deep in the first place wasn't exactly reassuring. Sofia entered her room and closed the shield back behind her. Lola was sitting opposite Perith around Sofia's bone table. Sorry to make you wait after waking you up like that, Lola. Are you feeling alright? Yes? This whole situation is a bit stressful. It doesn't have to be, as I said, you're not in any trouble, but I have a few questions to ask and I need you to answer truthfully. But, first, want something to drink? I could use some fresh water. There you go, Sofia said as she handed Lola a glass of water straight out of her storage ring while also taking one for herself. Lola took a few sips in an awkward silence before she needed to say something. Is it about my rank in the competition? Not at all, no. I'm quite proud of your performance, honestly. You really improved by leaps and bounds in these few months. It's clear that you are working very hard and taking my and other teachers' advice to heart. This isn't the issue. Lola looked slightly appeased by the praises, but she still couldn't understand why she was to be questioned. Then what? She asked. Well, first thing first, remember that bell? Sofia asked, dangling Ormancletha's bauble from the tip of her staff. The scribe bell. Yes, this one. I lied, though, this isn't a scribe bell. It's a gift from. Anyway, can you still hear it? Yes. Sofia knew from Astelia that the earrings of lies would let her instinctively know when someone proclaimed falsehoods, but right now she felt nothing, which lifted a weight from her chest. Nice, that's a good start. Now, about the real reason for this little interview, do you remember telling me about your family's ancestor and craftsmanship? Did I? Oh. I did mention that in the Bleeding Plant dungeon. Is this about the statues? I'm sure my family would still buy them. I could get father to offer you a good price, Lola offered. Thank you for the offer, but this isn't it. In truth, I urgently need to learn more about this old ancestor of yours, for reasons I'm afraid I cannot explain to you right now. You want to know about great ancestor Hugo? Well, I've never met him, so I only know from my parents. I think father said he left the household something like 600 years ago. Father said he's supposed to be as strong as the emperor. I'm not sure I believe him, but at the very least he should be strong enough to still be alive. As strong as the emperor, disappeared a few hundred years before Delivia became the new empress. After killing the old empress, perhaps? It really looks like I've found out about that big fish everyone is trying to catch. So it was Lola's ancestor all along. How convenient it must be for him that Lola is talented enough to be able to compete for first place, then, if the sword is his objective. Unless he helped her a bit. Let's dig a bit more. So he's been gone for centuries without news. That is right. But, teacher Sofia. Why? Why do you need to know about my ancestor? Let's make up some crap excuse. Well, you said your ancestor was a very high-level smith and sculptor, right? I'm looking for such a craftsman for a personnel project. I'm trying to craft a divine relic. And it's not even really a lie. Oh, how good would it feel to stab scripture with a knife made with his own essence? And with how strong those earrings of lies are, and how much trouble Iwarrat is going through to get back one of Sorrow's items, I definitely could use a godly item myself. Though I guess I already have the items from the lords, which is better. But I'm greedy. A divine item, the words gave Lola pause for a moment. This ancestor Hugo would definitely be up to the task. But, yet, nobody in the family has any idea about his whereabouts. Sometimes I even wonder if he's not a lie made up by my father to give our family some kind of undue prestige. If not for the statue. The statue. Lola nodded, yes, I've never seen Ancestor Hugo in person, but, Lola looked around before she spoke in a hushed tone, it's supposed to be a family secret, but there is an old dusty life-size statue of him hidden. Suddenly, Lola's words froze. Lola. Sofia only had the time to see the mithril sword that Lola's spirit guardian usually used come out of Lola's storage item by itself before she was assaulted by some kind of mental shockwave. Like nail rapping against her brain. It reminded her of the siren's calls. Parith teleported to her, but the mild pain suddenly stopped. And with a duo of yet never-seen system notifications came an otherworldly scream. The sword was screaming. You were subjected to a soul-altering attack, but it was dismissed. The mark of Afinareth punishes the attacker. The screaming sword stabbed Sofia's face faster than she could even read the notifications. She barely had time to see the headmaster and Saint Tartaros appear in her room, both grabbing the sword, that her vision changed to something else entirely. Sofia found herself in a dark room, the gaping wound in her face the only source of light, illuminating a giant-sized corridor topped with sculpted arches and paintings adorning the room, and sculptures of inordinately tall muscular men acting as the stone pillars on both sides, holding the ceiling and preventing the massive place from collapsing. What? Parith appeared to her side. I think the sword tried to escape while it was in my face, but because the other two had the sword in hand, I was the only one who got teleported. Sofia quickly checked her least used hidden feature of the system, the last bed compass. Points to the academy being to the northeast. No distance measure, though, so this doesn't help much. Is this Ancestor Hugo's secret cave or something? Sofia cautiously extended her mana senses, which revealed that this corridor she was in was encased within a mana shield, and under closer investigation, every part of every wall, every statue, and every tile on the floor, were all covered in delicate inscriptions coursing with mana. Literally, everything here is enchanted in one way or another. She was in the middle of the corridor, on a larger round enchanted tile, which was probably the target for the teleportation. Now, do I try to rob what is very likely the secret safe place of a level 500, or do I get the fuck out of here as fast as possible? Thus far, for the few seconds she had been here, Sofia had been careful not to move, for fear of triggering some kind of alarm or defense mechanism. Parith was similarly only looking around, not taking a single step. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But this also sounds like a death trap. Worst case, if the headmaster and friends manage to kill the guy, I'll be the only one to know of the location of this place, will I not? So I can always come back with Grandma and safely clean the place. If they don't kill him, then won't he come after me to get his shit back? So in both cases, it's better to just fuck off. Alright, Parith, we're out. Graveyard boys, your turn to shine. The graveyard skeletons failed to even appear, their summoning cancelled by the rituals embedded everywhere. Aha! Chapter 375, The Smith Sculptor. Well. This is definitely a time where escaping to Zangdar seems like a decent idea. The ring activated, and nothing happened. Sofia was desperately stuck where she was. She sighed and stored the bone plate with Zangdar's teleportation ritual circle. I'm sure the ringed arms of Zar Ring could break through the shields. If it wasn't already full from the fight against Cardinal. Well, Parith, Bookie, seems like we can only either stay right here and not move, hoping that someone comes to save us. Or I go back to the robbing plan. I still have a rune up and plenty of mana, so. Come hide inside, Parath, no need to take any risks. Sofia took a step up in the air and started walking forward. Nothing. Alright, very good start. If the floor is suspicious, just don't walk on the floor. I could fly too, but that won't cut it if any room is tighter than this corridor. I still have Astelia's earrings, so I should be able to see right through illusions and things like that. There's nothing hidden in the walls, as far as I can tell. It's really just all these ritual circles everywhere that freak me out. She kept cautiously walking toward a random end of the corridor. Maybe there's no trap at all. If I assume this is a level 500's home, then all they probably need is some shield hiding them from the outside, no need for puny traps when they likely can kill anyone under level 500 with a snap of their fingers, right? Sofia stopped in her tracks. Wait. What if the sword wasn't the real guy hiding in an artifact but just a distant proxy? Well, if I'm in a level 500's house and they're there too and want me dead, then I'm just dead, so no need to think about it. The fact that I'm still alive is enough to tell that this probably isn't the case. Should I summon Crowy to at least have an advance scout? Maybe not. Let's not forget that the rune does a decent job in hiding my presence, with cutting the mana emissions and all. Let's not compromise that by having a glowing skeleton fly around. Slowly, she made her way to the room at the end of the corridor. This room featured a walkway going around a large central pool embedded several meters deeper, in which streams of luminous blue water flowed down from the ceiling. Looking down into the luminous pool, Sofia could see long dark forms swimming around, appearing and disappearing as they swam up and down. No railings. I don't want to fall in there. I need to get a sample of the water if I want an identification, right? Sofia made a bucket out of bone and stepped into the air above the pool. March of the Envoy better not randomly stop working right now. Walking up to one of the falling streams of water, she made a long bone stick to handle the bucket from a distance, just in case, and used it to grab some of the water. The bone bucket froze over and was quickly covered in a layer of frost in contact with the water. Strange. Verdict? Water of the underworld current. The underworld current is a closed loop of water currents in the deep layers of the planet. This water retains the main attribute of the underworld current, an eternally freezing temperature. I'll take a few more buckets. After filling 2 bone barrels in her storage item with the strange water, Sofia walked to the set of doors on the other side of the pool room. Sofia could tell with her mana senses that water from the pool was being sent to that room through underground channels. Opening the doors, Sofia almost instantly passed out from the heat emanating from inside. She immediately took a few steps back. Not only was the heat hard to even comprehend, there were creatures in there, as well as the rhythmic cacophony of metal hitting metal. Golems? The heat deformed the air, making it hard to even see what was happening in detail, but from what Sofia could perceive, this was some kind of enormous forge. Glowing hot giant kills were heating piles of something, while golems transferred carts of stuff to and fro. Giant columns of metal struck equally monstrous anvils in deafening crashes. What exactly was being made, and with what materials, Sofia couldn't tell. I can't go in there. I will melt. Even the golems look like they're melting. Sofia observed the madness going on within the giant forge from the outside for a good 30 seconds, and the longer she looked, the more distance she had to take from the entrance. Fucking! It's actually getting hotter. The air inside the forge was getting so hot and the heated metal so bright that it was almost impossible to see inside. The rhythmic sound of the giant hammers stopped, and a blaring alarm rang. Shit, did they see me? With nowhere to really hide, Sofia just jumped into a corner of the pool room until the alarm stopped, followed by the sound of water evaporating. The air was rapidly getting colder. Oh! Going back to the doors, Sofia could see the entire forge being doused with the underworld water to cool it down, creating huge clouds of steam that were being sucked into vents in the ceiling. The golems were nowhere to be seen. This is my chance. Deploying her wings, Sofia flew inside the forge the second it was no longer getting sprayed with the glacial water. On her way, she touched and stored a few random piles of metal and stuff without really knowing what it was, only that she might luck out and steal something valuable, but she had to quickly leave, as the golems were coming out of holes in the walls, and the forge was very quickly heating back up to unbearable levels of heat all by itself. She located an exit on the other side, and once she was in, she closed the big stone double doors behind her. I don't think the golems were chasing me. Damn though, How is this place heating up so fast? This was so much worse than the solar temple, it's crazy. The place Sofia had ended up in was a smaller corridor with only one other exit, leaving little choice as to her next destination. Let's have a quick look. This looks like a big cube of meteoric iron. These ingots I grabbed are just orichalcum. And this weird thing. Sofia had to take out the huge chunk of weird-looking half-molten metal she had pilfered from the kill of the largest central forge to identify it. Adamian slag. Slag produced as the valuable byproduct from the destructive refining of several precious metals together, can be refined into one ingot of 99% pure Adamian steel. One ingot? From this whole thing? It's almost bigger than me. Alright, whatever. I'm not going back there right now. I need to find a way out before the owner of the place comes back, if he does. I don't have infinite storage space anyway, so I need to hold back a bit. Going up to the next set of doors, Sofia could already feel that there were more golems moving around in the next room. Without the disturbance from the violent heat, she could tell these golems all contained within their cores at least 20 times the amount of mana she herself had. These golems have to all be over level 300 at least. Slowly opening the doors a little bit to peek inside, Sofia could see the golems neatly lined up around the four walls of the rectangular room, each occupied doing something on their personal workstation. Every so often, the stuff in front of the golems would slide toward the next golem on their right, and the golems would all start working on the new thing they received from their left. They're assembling more golems? This has slightly worrying implications. Now, should I turn back, or do I try to reach the door on the other side? If a single one of these golems attack me, I'm dead meat, but they don't seem to be paying any attention to anything other than their work, so maybe they're not programmed to deal with intruders at all. Only one way to know. Sofia had bookie appear in her hands, and she threw the book through the slit in the door. The book of skeletons flew halfway through the room and landed on the tiled floor with a thud, which was barely audible due to the noise the golems' works made. The golems did not stop their work nor paid any mind to the book in any way. Might be safe, then, you can come back, bookie. The book disappeared from the floor in a puff of mana mist, now ready to be summoned again. Sofia opened the doors just enough to fit through. Using her ability to walk on air, she silently walked up to the ceiling while still in the doorway, hoping that the golems would spot her and cross the room while crouching right under the ceiling. Better safe than sorry. She made it to the other side and let herself fall in front of the other doors. Another corridor. But with choice this time. Left or right? It's occurring to me now that I might have chosen the wrong side on my very first move. It seems like I'm getting deeper into the facility now, not closer to the exit. Maybe I can afford a quick look into these two last rooms before turning back. I haven't crossed the golem room for nothing. Sofia turned right for no reason in particular, and when faced with another set of doors, she once again focused on expanding her mana senses, only for them to return nothing. The corridor she was in was still full of mana and covered in almost invisible enchantments, and there was still a big shield right outside the walls which would no doubt prevent her from leaving by imitating a mole, but beyond the doors, nothing. Or rather, the shield seemed to turn into a flat wall, as if the doors would open to reveal she was in the middle of a cliff. She could feel there were things actually stacked in the room, but they had no mana, so she could only tell they were there because of the marginally lower density of mana indicating solid matter. She opened the doors. Holy fuck. Chapter 376, Intolerable Lechery. In the gigantic room beyond the doors, an army of golems. Lined up in loose metal casings, stacked up from the floor dozens of meters below to the ceiling dozens of meters above, continuing further as far as the eyes could see, rows and rows of inactive metallic golems. How many do you need? Is this guy trying to replace every living person on the planet with a golem? How much mana would it cost to prime all of these? I think I'm starting to understand why the others want this guy dead. Too bad these don't have mana. It would have been my pleasure to send some rot that way. As it is, the rot won't last long enough to scratch the metal. Seeing how everything else here is enchanted, even the walls, I might still let some rot loose later. But not before I find an exit. If the construction golems have a self-defense trigger, I don't want to find out. Sofia backed away and went to check the opposite room. Storage? Oh, the raw ore is coming in from the chutes. This door on the left probably links back to the forge. There isn't so much refined metal in stock, I guess it's all being used. There are plenty of golem cores though. More doors on the far side. I'm not risking going in there. Some of the golems are actually patrolling. Time to head back. Going back was just a matter of doing the same thing in reverse, the longest part being the wait for the forge room to enter a cooling phase again so she could cross through. Soon enough she was in the corridor with statues again. Let's check out the other side. Right away the first room on the other side felt somewhat familiar. It looked a lot like Saint Tartaro's room in the academy, just a dome with pillars and a cushion on the floor in the center. Meditation must be a popular old man sport. Already, this room opened up to 3 different directions. Quickly, Sofia checked the left and right, which both turned out to be more corridors, then she followed her usual way of going straight ahead. Who in their right mind would explore the side rooms first? What I need right now is an exit or a way to disable the mana shield around this place. The shield is huge so the array controlling it can only also be huge. Sounds like an important thing to monitor, wouldn't be buried in a side corridor, surely. Sofia was starting to be more comfortable walking around in this place. There were no traps or such things, it seemed, which actually made a lot of sense, considering this was meant to be a secret place. No need to defend if nobody can find you. And clearly nobody could find this base else they wouldn't have gone through all the trouble to lure Hugo out. No golems on this side so far either. Sofia's train of thoughts was completely derailed when she entered the next room. Whoa, holy fuck. This stunned me more than the golems. So many paintings, what the hell? This guy sure likes his elves. In a purely artistic way, the room, which was without a doubt some kind of painting atelier, was full of vivid depictions of female elves with no clothes, in every kind of degrading position inimaginable. I mean, he is a good painter. Although Sofia was not particularly interested in the images themselves, she couldn't help but look, especially since there were rows of paintings everywhere. Some were framed, some not, on the wall or propped against each other. It was hard to find a single safe place to rest your eyes except if you stared at the ground as you navigated across the room. If is that son? That's definitely son. Hoi, son, you fine with this? I'm surprised this guy's still alive. Holy fucking shit, this entire row is only paintings of son. Also I'm pretty sure her chest isn't that big. Just when Sofia thought nothing could possibly surprise her anymore after that, she turned around and her mind completely blanked. Near the exit of the room was where the work-in-progress paintings were, each canvas mounted on a wooden easel and with a paint palette and brushes left on their side. Among the 5 unfinished paintings was one of Sofia herself, in the same style as every other one around. The crown on her head left absolutely no doubt as to the blonde woman in the painting's identity. I've never felt so disgusted. Also, come on. You made son's bigger but you made mine smaller? This guy has shit for eyes. And I don't smile like that. Sofia stored the painting of herself, for fear of some kind of repair magic being able to bring it back from the ashes if she burned it. And it felt fine if she had it. She didn't really know why, but she stored one of Son's as well. Then she grouped up everything else in the middle of the room, built a bone box around it, and used the inside of the bone box like a shredder. She also found a painting of Lola and her siblings, who thankfully all actually wore clothes and were not depicted doing anything weird, and that was the only other painting she saved from the shredder. There was not a single intact painting left in the room when she left, leaving behind piles of ripped canvas and splintered wood. That'll teach you to paint people without permission, you freak. I can't believe. The next room was a salon. Literally, just a place with a couch, a bunch of memorabilia stacked up against the walls, a kitchen area on the side, collections of sculpting tools in display cases, all in all, mostly a bunch of useless crap. Not my first home intrusion. But this is my first time doing so completely guilt-free. Show me the good stuff, I'll take it all. Surely there must be a collection of magical items somewhere. Sofia kept looking around. The rooms around this section were all the living quarters of the very cultured ancestor Hugo, and Sofia found it sorely disappointing. Most of the things being proudly displayed were things of understandable sentimental value, but Sofia couldn't care less about the man's first sculpture or his set of diamond chisels. At least she was comforted by the lack of elven slaves which she had been worried she might stumble upon after going through the painting room. It seemed the only people living there other than the owner were the endless golems on the other side. All was going well until Sofia found a locked door. Oh ho ha, there we have it. Locked doors. Let's see what you have against me. The door had a lot, it turned out. So much that no matter what she tried, nothing worked, even the rot would get cleansed from the door's barrier by pulses of weird black energy. But at least so far, despite her fooling around, there was no repercussion of any kind. Still no guards, no alarm, no trap, no nothing. But the door was impossible to get through, and the walls around it were exactly the same. Now aware that she could go crazy with no repercussions, as long as the golems weren't touched, at least, Sofia returned to the main corridor. She blocked the path to the golem section of the base with a thick wall of bone, and while standing in the meditation room, started blasting rot everywhere in the main corridor. With every tile and every piece of every wall being enchanted, the rot ate well. There were some minor explosions which freaked Sofia out, but nothing major really happened until the statues holding the place together were too damaged by the rot and crumbled, which led the entire corridor to collapse. That worked better than expected. The shield is still intact around the area though. But at least that's destroyed that middle ritual circle. If it's really a teleportation platform, then the guy might not be able to come back if he wanted. That would be nice. With whatever enchantments filled the corridor gone, Sofia noticed that the graveyard skeletons now worked properly when summoned inside the stone debris of the collapsed section. Despite that, they still could not get her through the outside shield, and still couldn't get her through the intact walls and floors of every other room. So they really only served as a way to still get to the golem side without clearing the debris. Now separated from the potentially dangerous golems, and having fully explored the other side save for the locked room, sadly finding no exit whatsoever, Sofia at least felt safe enough to start throwing bolts around to try to empty the ring of Zar. She had to cancel the unlife rune to regenerate mana, then when the ring was finally empty, she took all the time she needed to inscribe 3 new unlife runes on her body, then she returned to the locked door. The shield's core is probably there, and all the valuable stuff is probably there too. For a second, Sofia had second thoughts, and considered just using the ring to break out of the base and to safety instead of trying to break into the locked room. Then she thought back to the distasteful paintings. Let's rob a level 500 asshole blind. Sofia activated the ringed arms of Zar. The magic protection around the door broke as the mana was being forcefully sucked into the ring. Perith hit the door, but it was incredibly sturdy and was not even scratched. However, without magical protection, the graveyard skeletons could appear, and just as the door and its surrounding protections finished repairing themselves, Sofia appeared on the other side. I'm in. Chapter 377, The Promised Death. Sofia observed the room she was now locked inside of. This might not have been my brightest idea. The inside of the locked chamber was not full of riches as Sofia had hoped. Instead, there were 2 giant golems, one on each side of the room, dormant, and a series of stacked spherical mana shields protecting what looked to be the true body of Ancestor Hugo. The old man looked the same as he did in the painting of him by Lola's sister, down to wearing the same exact long red and dark purple robes. He stood upright on a raised platform in the center point of the room, his eyes were closed, and he was not moving in the slightest. Besides the massive mithril frame of the Colossus which she obviously couldn't hope to steal, what caught Sofia's eyes was the only other valuable-looking thing in the room, a sleek white dagger that Hugo held in front of his chest with both hands like a ceremonial sword. A familiar design. Just like the prize sword. No wonder he really wants the first key. I'm willing to bet my entire fortune that this is either the second or the third key. 1 per admin. 3 keys to open a lock. Wouldn't it be nice to steal this? This might be impossible, though. Even assuming he won't wake up because his actual soul is in Lola's sword fighting against the headmaster and Tartaros, if those golems wake up. They're clearly charged. I could siphon their core with the ring, but they're too far apart to get both at once. And I'd need to empty the ring without waking them first. Actually, it's curious that they've not detected me yet. Am I invisible to them thanks to the runes covering up my heat and mana emissions? I know for a fact the vast majority of golems rely on mana senses to distinguish things. They could have sensed the graveyard crew though, but I guess they didn't. A tight situation. My only way to get rid of the shields around the guy is also the ring. Even if I get to the body, it's not a given I'd be able to pry the dagger out of his hands either. And to activate the ring in the first place I need to empty it. The golems will 100% wake up. They have to be at least level 400. I can't do anything about them. I can't leave either, my only way out is also the ring. This is the worst thing I could have found inside of here. Fuck. I should have just broken through the base's external shield and escaped. I think the only thing I can safely do is to wait and hope this guy dies. He's 1 against 3 if we count the Emperor, right? Surely they can't lose this. Best case scenario would be he dies and that disables all the shields in the base, since he seems to be the actual source of energy. Worst case scenario, the headmaster fails and this guy here wakes up. If he does, well, the only way out is if he spares me. Seems unlikely. Maybe if I sell my body I'd rather not think about it. Actually, this is risky, but if my only other choice is to wait, well. Sofia used her ability to walk on air to make her way to the ceiling. It wasn't like the golems wouldn't be able to reach her there, but if they couldn't sense her, they were less likely to search there. Then, with 2 successive casts of heal undead in opposite directions, she covered the locked room in rot. The rot failed to stick onto the backside of the vault's door, the mana shields protecting Hugo, and the outside mithril frame of the golems. Everything else, from the floor and walls to the inside and exposed cores of the golems, which were big orange spheres, was completely covered. This will surely help empty the ring. The rot started absorbing the mana from everything it touched, and as Sofia feared, the golems arose from their slumber, a fact which she had very little time to appreciate, as the golems instantly found her and pulverized her into a mush. Or so Sofia believed, but somehow, when faced with the mithril fists of the golems, she survived. At the last second, a paper doll flew out of her mouth and collided against the fists, sending the 2 golems reeling back. Leverla's charm. It will protect you from an attack you cannot handle, once. And will call me. Before the golems could get back up, the paper doll bloated and stretched, turning into a massive black gate. The gate broke as a massive lizard-like bipedal goat with pitch black skin, a long neck, elongated limbs and a blank mask for a head stepped out of it, facing the golems. Where in Death's N.A. Leverla was silenced by 2 white beams of mana firing at him from the golem's cores. There was nothing left of him but a blank mask when the beams died down. They had barely missed Sofia, who was too scared to even move, and had cleared straight lines through the rot. L.E. Leverla. The demon's body explosively grew back from the mask, and as he reformed, he extended an open hand, in which a crooked white wooden scepter appeared with a shockwave that halfway buried Sofia inside the rot on the wall behind her. My best bet. One of the golems charged at Leverla with a raised fist. He was met with a tap of his scepter. Both were ejected back from the collision. And the second golem fired another mana beam, once again reducing the demon to little more than a floating mask while the scepter was nowhere to be seen anymore. Is still to play dead. For some reason, the air was starting to get unbearably hot in the vault. Leverla's body reappeared again, taller and larger. He was still only half the size of the gargantuan golems, but this was more than twice his regular size. A wave of mana spread out from Leverla. It healed Sofia from the damage the collision against the wall had inflicted on her despite the runes normally preventing healing, and as it spread through the rot, it had the effect of multiplying its growth speed to insane levels and sending it into a frenzy. The rot now truly felt like the genuine thing, and it expanded so fast that in a second, it ate everything it could besides the golems and then ate itself. There was no more vault room, only the spherical mana shields it was contained in, and more shields in the center, protecting the last bit of ground as well as the owner of the place. The golems were also affected, but even with the increased mana consumption rate, the mana within the golems' cores seemed endless. To Sofia's shock, perhaps as an emergency protection which had triggered with the golem's activation, the outside of the vault was entirely an inferno of dangerous-looking green flames. And inside the vault was getting hotter and hotter. One of the golems charged at Leverla again, and was met with a gargantuan straight punch. The strength behind the hit was such that Leverla's arm exploded upon hitting the golem, and the simple shockwave behind Leverla almost killed Sofia and instantly broke both her eardrums. The golem hit the vault's outer shield hard enough to leave cracks into it, but they were almost instantly repaired. Some green fire seeped into the vault through the cracks, and Sofia felt like she was being cooked alive. As Leverla was about to hit the other golem, Sofia fought the dizziness and dove straight for the central shields protecting Hugo's body. The boost to the rot had emptied her ring in an instant. She activated the Ring of Zar once more at the last second before hitting the shield and teleport up to Hugo at the same time. The shields reformed almost instantly. But Sofia was inside. Another hit from Leverla on the golems shook the vault, but for once Sofia was untouched within the multi-layered final protection shields of Hugo. These shields withstood the lasers from the golems and the impacts from Leverla's punch without so much as flickering, but it seemed not even a level 500s protections could resist the absolute effects of a relic from the deep. Leaving the Apostle of Death to his battle, Sofia walked up to Hugo, who was still standing straight, eyes closed and gripping the white dagger with both hands. Artisan, LV 500+. Sofia tried grabbing the dagger, but she couldn't free it from the grip of the artisan. His hands looked relaxed around the dagger, Clearly he was not clutching hard, and yet, even when she mustered all of her strength to pull it out of the man's hands, it was not moving in the slightest. I don't have time to ponder on this shit. You better fucking work this time. A scroll appeared in Sofia's hands. Chapter 378, Deus Ex Carta. Scroll of Assisted Inspiration. Infuse it with mana after writing your current issue on it. The system will provide you inspiration to resolve the problem. One-time use. Item level, 100. Grade, flawless. There was still her last query written on it, remnants of her passage in Sun's orbital temple. How do I survive my current situation? She had gotten no answer that time, but now was different. This time she was in the system's reach. With a charcoal pen from her storage, she scribbled over her previous query and wrote a new one. How do I get the dagger and survive? It was hard to think with Lervril battling the golems outside. He seemed to be doing somewhat well, but clearly the golems were worthy of being a level 500s home guardians. She infused the scroll with mana and shortly thereafter, words appeared, draw a bigger connection, followed by a small drawing of what Sofia instantly recognized as an unknown divine rune, which was surrounded by a bunch of sparks. Is that? Sofia brought out as large a bone plate as she could fit inside the shield and reproduced the divine rune onto it. Nothing happened. The sparks. Connection is. Sofia placed her palm on the bone plate and channeled an angel's bolt. Electricity. She felt a distinct sense of reality breaking around her. Spreading from her hand, streams of blue electricity crackled within the shield, and in a flash of otherworldly iridescent colors, a being made of such electricity appeared above the divine rune. False god. I have returned. Once again indebted. The false god of connections connected the dagger to Sofia's hand. It was now in her grasp as if it had always been there. Most I can do. Too much mana here. Cannot stay nor get you out. More are coming. Nice to see you again. Good luck. Sofia barely had the time to think a quick thank you, and the friendly archangel was gone. More are coming? More what? No one was going to answer, so Sofia turned to identifying the dagger, which the scribe actually refused to do. This item must be primed with your mana before being identified. This item already has an owner and cannot be primed. Shit. Not helping. Sofia had the urge to try stabbing Hugo with the dagger before storing it, but in the off chance that damage could still awaken him somehow, she held back. That did it for the dagger part of the question. But what about the survive part, system? The battle outside of the inner shield was intensifying. Every time Leverla took a hit, he healed back and regrew in more and more disturbing ways. He was as tall as the golems now, and looked like a black-furred long-limbed feral beast much more than a civilized person. With another punch, one of the golem's cores broke and exploded. The energy unleashed was such that Sofia died even while she stood within the inner shields. When she came to again 3 seconds later, still trapped with Hugo within the inner shield, it was impossible to tell what was happening outside, as the green inferno had somehow broken into the outer shield of the vault, and the inner shields were all that separated her from its unbearable heat. Getting in there was the right call. I might not have survived Leverla's fight otherwise. But now I'm stuck. The situation immediately got much worse, however. Ancestor Hugo opened his eyes. His incredulous gaze went from his empty hands to Sofia standing in front of him. Sofia tried to speak. She was cut off by a wave of energy. She survived with 1% of her health. The man frowned. Sofia died. She reappeared 3 seconds later, her dragon scale arm awkwardly already within the hands of Hugo, and her actual arm was inside of it. The man was trying to get his dagger back, and Sofia would have happily surrendered it, had she been given the chance to, but 2 waves of energy hit her again, and she died once more. This had been her last unlife rune. In the second she spent alive, she saw that Perith had been out and trying to protect her, but it was a futile endeavor. Sofia died so fast she did not even have enough time to think. 3 seconds later, she was brought back from the dead for the last time. Hugo was not there anymore. Perith had died, fragments of his crushed bones spread within the shield, along with scattered bits of Sofia's previous bodies. What? Where is he? He let me live? Sofia's first instinct was to prepare the ritual to bring Perith back. While she worked at it, she spent more time assessing the situation. The fact that Hugo was gone and the shield was still intact meant its actual core and mana source were not him, but hidden within the ground under her feet. Within her dragon scale arm, Sofia could feel that she still had her rings, and a quick look showed the dagger was still in there. It seemed the dragon scale, Apnaretha's glove and the soul link on the ring, had been sufficient protections to prevent Ancestor Hugo from getting at or into Sofia's storage ring in the short time she had spent dead. Outside of the shields, the green inferno was still raging. A few seconds later, Perith stood up again. He was back into his very first skeleton once more, the one Sofia had found in a tomb near her orphanage. She had kept it all this time, and it was the only humanoid skeleton she had at the ready at the moment. It was much weaker than the bone mauler skeleton, but still better than nothing. Welcome back. Any ideas on how we can get out of this mess? Perith looked around and shook his skull. For lack of a better option, Sofia sat down and started working on another unlife rune. The 5-minute channeling time felt like an eternity. About 30 seconds in, her channeling was interrupted by a shockwave that sent her rolling back and crashing against the shield. Outside, the green inferno had disappeared, washed away by the wave of energy. There was nothing else left nearby. The shields Sofia was in were the sole thing left within a gigantic crater. Hugo's base had been underground, but now, from the bottom of a several kilometers deep crater, Sofia could see the sky. The source of the shockwave and the maker of the crater was fighting Hugo. Saint Tartaros. Sofia had a hard time catching a single glimpse of their battle, but she could feel it every time they clashed. The world itself shook from their attacks. Hugo managed to trap Tartaros within some kind of mana bubble, stopping him for all of a second. Within that second, Hugo channeled an astronomical quantity of mana and unleashed it in the direction of the ground. It washed over Sofia, suffocating but harmless. From the depth of the crater, a sleeping being was brought to life. Hugo had summoned another golem. A colossus. A titan of untold alloys and mana. The immense being woke from its stone prison, and slowly rose. It was taller than the crater itself, and, jumping out of it, it joined the fight, only to get tackled by a giant blue dragon striking it out of nowhere like a meteor. Sofia closed her eyes. She was unable to watch anymore. The battle was going too fast, and their attacks destroyed the land so far and wide that the crater around her kept getting wider and deeper. It would only take one stray hit coming her way and it would all be over, so she stopped watching and concentrated. She needed to cast that unlife rune, and fast. Until the hell of sound and energy from the battle ceased. Sofia couldn't help but look. It took very little time to locate the source of the sudden calm. Archangel. Tartaros, Belligenus, and the Exidian Emperor were all holding on to Hugo, entrapping him within a whirling vortex of mana, and this was when an archangel had appeared. The being's flickering form defying all logic. The many places its right arm were in at the same time coalesced into a singular solid image, and as it raised it, aimed at Hugo. Mana concentrated so much at the being's fingertips that it became solid, and traced thousands of ritual circles in the air one after the other. The otherworldly voice of the archangel pierced through everyone's head. With each of his words, endless concentrated streams of mana from around the world gathered within the palm of his hand. Hugo desperately tried to fight back from within the vortex of mana. Hugo Elder Plane. The archangel paused. You have violated the pact. As an enforcer of this world's laws, I deliver unto you your final sentence. You shall be exiled within the eye of creation. May you repent for eternity. The mana vortex was dispelled by the archangel's magic. A glowing prison made of countless threads of white magic formed around Hugo. The archangel's magic pulsed, and the threads closed like a cocoon around the level 500. With each pulse, more and more threads wrapped around the helpless artisan, until it all collapsed into a silent flash of light bright like an exploding sun. When the light disappeared, Hugo Elderplane was no more. Chapter 379, Glorified Kitchen Appliance. The shields around Sofia disappeared, and the platform she was on fell toward the bottom of the crater while she was suspended in place by her ability to walk on air, and Perith had to take refuge in her storage. So this is how they deal with a rogue level 500. Sofia felt that she had a bit of a dry throat. Violated the pact? Will they want the dagger back? The archangel appeared in front of Sofia. The scribes have taken much liberty with your latest request. Do not summon connection again. Proceed to the next trial. The being disappeared after saying his piece. AI all right. In the air, not far from Sofia, a blank mask reformed from seemingly nowhere, and Leverla's full body followed quickly after, back to his regular form. You! Leverla shouted at Sofia, you need someone to teach you some common sense. You dragon spawn freak! Sofia did not know how to answer, so she just said sorry, and smiled. She felt that she understood Leverla well enough already to tell that he was not as mad as he was shaken by the general situation. And to be honest, she knew she deserved the scolding, even if she did not regret her actions in the slightest. Belligenus appeared next to the two of them. He was back in his Exidian form. We do not claim her. An agent of chaos such as her is clearly one of yours, Doctor, have some decency. The Emperor and Tartaros also joined, with the Saint of Strength appearing right next to Sofia and nonchalantly putting a hand on her shoulder. You old men must have shit for eyes. She is, of course, a saint. If you do not claim her, then we will. I have found her performance today admirably crazy. Was it not you who pretended to have something else to do every time her name was even mentioned, Tartaros? The Emperor chimed in. Sofia noticed that he had the first key sheathed at his waist, though it was hard to really concentrate on anything with how Tartaros was holding her. It was not me who sent my wife after her because I was too busy to do it myself, Tartaros struck back. What is even going on right now? If I may, Sofia interrupted the quartet of quibbling old men, which actually prompted Tartaros to let her go. What group I'm a part of is of little importance. There is only one thing you all need to know. She took out the white dagger and twirled it in her hand, which she was very scared to fumble as she acted much more confident than she really was, but actually managed to make look decently good. When I reach your level, you better hope to be on my side. You shouldn't so carelessly reveal your possessions, Leverla sighed. I thought it would be better if you all knew that I got the thing. Don't waste your time searching for it. I won't lie, I am a bit nervous about one of you three trying to get it back, Sofia told the three level 500, but I also thought that if you were to want it badly enough, it would be better if you stole it now, rather than coming for my life in secret later. So, any takers? I cannot guarantee that it will be without repercussions, though. I have my own backers. Namely a draconic grandmother and 4 very scary uncles. You will find me dead before you find me stealing from an employee, Belligenus answered, shaking his head. Moreover, despite the chaotic nature of your interventions today, the results speak for themselves. I can speak for everyone here and tell you that we will not be pursuing you for taking your share of the spoils. With a bit more time to process everything that had happened, another matter came to Sofia's thoughts. What about Lola? Is she all right? Are the people in the academy fine? This was actually one of Sofia's biggest worries. If Lola had died because of her stunt in the academy, she would feel a lot worse about this whole situation. It was Tartaros who answered, we were sufficiently ready. Your disappearance was unexpected, much like the damage you inflicted on the big fish, and you getting the key out of his hands, obviously, but these were the only major deviations from our response plan. There are consequent material damages within the academy and capital, but no deaths. Everyone else has been safely evacuated, including Lola Elderplane. The doctor should know more about her case in particular. She has suffered some minor soul damages. My priests should be taking care of her as we speak, Leverla calmly answered. We need to take care of the aftermath, the Emperor announced. Doctor, take her to the bunker. Thank you for your contribution, Saintess. Leverla nodded, and a black gate appeared behind him. He waited for Sofia to step in. It was my pleasure, Sofia told them before stepping into the gate. Sofia appeared in an unknown closed room, Leverla next to her. Where is this? She asked. This is a secret location. In case of an emergency, the Emperor will teleport all of his citizens to safety in this place. As he has done today. You were meant to be sent here too, he explained, putting on his usual white robes to hide his demonic body. But I wasn't. So you knew you might be teleported to me at some point, didn't you? Truthfully, yes. I did not, however, expect that it would be within a level 500's safe room, with the charm being triggered by 2 level 499 golems. It looked like you held out well, though. Thank you for actually coming, you really saved my life. I was paid to do it, Leverla waved her off, not paid enough, but paid. Paid in stones, right? Can I know what they are? In short? Dead people. I cannot tell you much more. You shall learn by yourself, at some point. Dead people? Are they actually trading with skeletons? Stones? Maybe it's only high-level dead people, then? And I would learn by myself when I get to that level and kill someone? Some kind of skill less naturally produced mana pearls? I'll just ask Aredes. I wonder what she will have to say about this whole Hugo thing. Exiled to the Eye of Creation. What even is that? Leverla was about to lead Sofia out of the room, when she voiced that question and he stopped to answer. The center point of all things. It is a dreaded place where space grows at a pace faster than anyone can travel. Simply speaking, it is a natural prison that one may enter but none can ever leave. Space grows? I'm not completely sure I understand how that's supposed to work. Is teleportation not an option? No. There are no options. The rules which make reality what it is resulted in this anomaly. To leave it would require infringing on these rules. By definition, this cannot happen. Oh. So this man really is stuck out there forever? That's kind of sad. I mean, he did try to kill me, thrice, and he did use Lola for his own goals, but still. I wouldn't wish this upon anyone. Not even scripture. I would kill him though. As I will scripture. Actually, I changed my mind. Can scripture be exiled to the eye of creation? Does people getting exiled happen often? Sofia asked. Often? No. But this was not the first time. And it won't be the last. That said, I will be going. This room is relatively safe, so I recommend you bind your soul to the key before coming out. I would trust the old one's words, but there are still other powerful and greedy people in the Empire. If the first key was enough to lure Hugo out, you should understand the worth of that thing you stole. Ah, right, before you go, one last question, these keys, are they meant to open something? The admins only know for sure, Leverla answered as he left the room. Thank you again, Leverla. Sofia thanked him as he closed the door. Sofia brought out the white dagger. It was quite short and thin, the blade about the length of her hand from the wrist to the tip of her middle finger was leaf-shaped, and there was no real separation between the blade and the hilt. The surface was smooth and shiny but not like metal. Sofia knew it wasn't made of bone but she felt it looked a bit like polished bones. The two edges looked sharp, they cut through Sofia's tough skin without any resistance. Good thing I don't bleed anymore. The only non-white parts of the dagger were the inlaid lines of very muted softly glowing red metal that changed to a golden or light purple color depending on the angle Sofia looked at it. Alright. Technically Hugo isn't dead. But I should be able to claim the dagger, right? This item must be primed with your mana before being identified. Required mana, 66666666. That's it. Just 6 million? I can do that in 4 hours. I kind of want to check up on everyone else and let them know I'm safe, though. Can you go do that for me, Perith? The skeleton appeared, looking much smaller and weaker than usual. He gave Sofia a nod and left the room. We're going to get you something better. I'm sure TLDR can help us there. To the dagger then. Let's see what kind of help snatching that actually provided to the capture. Done. Your turn, Sir Scribe. The third key. This divine dagger is the third key, once worn as a decorative piece by admin redacted, it is made from one of their essences. Grants access to the scrap subsystems, titles, LVL1, subclasses, LVL250, principality, LVL450. Facilitates mana control. Must be held or worn for titles and principality to be in effect. Item level, -500. Grade, test. Restriction. Cannot own other daggers. Chapter 380, no title. Third key. I was right about there being 3, though it was not hard to guess. It's from the god admin. An actual divine item. Oh, I should have given the earrings to Perith for Astelia. Well, I'll give them back when I see her. Grade, test. Item level -500? That's interesting. Was it one of the first system items ever created? Hence the need to do tests. Also cannot own other daggers. Is that why it feels like a monolith piece of junk right now? Sofia summoned Bookie's skeleton form and threw him her 2 mithril daggers. That's all yours now. You can do what you want with it. Bookie caught the dagger and proceeded to fight an imaginary enemy with it. It looked a bit clumsy. Glad you're liking them. Are we good now? The key still felt like a regular non-magical dagger, even though Sofia had personally dumped more than 10 times her mana reserves into it. Do I have more daggers? As it turned out, she did have 2 more regular daggers among all the junk she had collected, but even when she threw them away to a corner of the room, the key was still unreactive. What now? Do I need to destroy them or something like that? Don't tell me. Sofia emptied her storage of all dagger-looking implements. And finally, the dagger's mana came to life. It turned out that kitchen knives counted as daggers as far as the key was concerned. No longer allowed to own other knives. Alright. I can feel my mana run smoother already. That feels nice. Subclasses. Will I get a second class is what this says? Scrapped features. So the admins wanted everyone to have subclasses and then gave up. I haven't a clue what principality is, but it looks like I won't get to know for a long while. The only thing I have access to now is titles. How does that work? Do I get a menu for it? Title? A new, never seen before system window appeared in front of Sofia's eyes. Along with a series of system messages. Hey, it had been a little while since I really broke something. That's nostalgic. Initializing titles. Boot sequence failure. Error. Conflicting system languages, recovering data. Error. Data could not be recovered. Initiating no fail recovery sequence, please wait. Let's hope this won't be too long. This is pretty much all I'm actually getting from the dagger for now, so it better be decent. Oh, faster than expected. Additional data needed, do you consent to a memory scan? That. Yes? I thought the system already had access to that. Scanning, please wait. More waiting. Scan complete. New titles are being generated. Please read the user guide. Sofia expected another system window to appear with the mentioned guide, but to her surprise, she was jump-scared by an actual paper booklet landing opened on top of her head out of nowhere. Whoa, the colors on this are so vivid and clean. The system has such good paper again. Just like the letter in the emergency safe house after the first trial. Why can't all books be made of that paper? So smooth and nice. I'm getting distracted. Sofia closed the booklet to read the cover. There was a colorful drawing of a man in plate armor raising his arms, and over his head was a small golden prompt title asterisk. At the bottom of the cover in small letters was added, asterisk user guide, v0.21. Is there a possibility that the system used to have proper user guides like this one, but they've all been lost? Or maybe the guides were also an abandoned project? This key giving access to deleted features is pretty incredible. Let's have a slow read. It looks like the title generating thing is taking a while. The drawings are quite cute. Hello. Congratulations on unlocking the title system. Reaching level 50 is a great feat for the weaker races. Use this feature wisely, be bold, and it could help you reach the first trial with ease. Let me introduce you to the basics of titles. Titles are rewards given for notable accomplishments. Our scribes are hard at work overseeing everyone, so anything can be a title. Unlike nobility titles, these titles come with only advantages. They can provide a variety of bonuses, and can be thought of as an extra classless or passive skill. When you equip a title, it will be shown before your class on your identification and status sheets. But in general, you have the option to hide them if you want. Now, don't get too excited, titles are great, but you may only have one equipped at a time. No worries, however, you can change for another one of your titles once a day, and you can always go back to your previous titles, so be flexible. Typically, titles are something that are acquired and are here to stay, but some special titles are ephemeral, and can be lost depending on your actions. Although most titles are generated by our lovely scribes, some unique titles, which I made myself with the help of Redacted, can be found. As the name implies, there can only be one person with each unique title. Exciting! And that's all there is to it. Everyone is given the titular title for a start, try equipping it. That's it. Pretty straightforward. All the unique titles should be available since I'm the only one with the function, that's pretty nice. Let's see. Titles. User Sofia Afinareth, no title equipped. Hidden, false. Available titles. Titular. /// Try equip wait, no. I can only change once a day? I'm not going to try the basic title. I almost got scammed. Can I see what it does, though? Titular, the basic title awarded to everyone. Effect, plus 50 health. 50 health. I would have loved to get that at level 50, actually. Now it's more than a bit underwhelming, but surely I've done enough notable things to get great titles, right? I can almost already guarantee I'll equip the one I'm sure to get for the victory fight. Still though, this title system. It incentivizes people to try doing crazy things to get good titles, doesn't it? I think I get why the idea was discontinued. I'm likely the only person in the world to have access to this now, right? Maybe the angels can use titles too? I should ask Sen if I see him again. Oh. A new title. Cataclysmic Survivor, survived against all odds when the world itself acted as if it wanted you dead. You were just a kid and it's a miracle you made it out alive, that has to be worth something. Effect, environmental damage received reduced by 20%. Environmental damage? Like what? Is jumping into the sun environmental damage? Is a boulder tumbling down a mountain and crushing someone environmental damage? Are insect bites environmental damage? I probably won't be using this one often, but it's good to have. A late reward for surviving the ebb, I suppose. It is something notable, yes. Sofia received a new system message. To prevent clutter, lower rarity titles will not be generated. Sure. It feels like I could miss out on useful things, but if I'm being honest I'll probably just equip the rarest of the bunch, so not a big loss. Following that message, the new titles started appearing much faster. Not so Saint, 2 classes. What happened here? Effect, your identified class shows up as mage. /ephemeral/ will be lost if you change class. Oh. Again, a bit late to be useful, but it's nice to have, just in case. Also I can't change class, so this restriction is really dumb. It took a few more seconds for the next one to appear. No name, is someone talking about me? Effect, the system warns you when you are mentioned in a conversation and gives you the general direction of the culprit. Culprit? Is saying my name a crime now? I get that it's trying to mimic the Lord's tendency to know when the deep is mentioned, but that sounds like it could quickly get annoying. Especially now that I'm starting to be a bit of a public figure with the academy and all that. Equals. The lost, traveled to the margin. Effect, health plus 10% while exploring new locations. That's starting to be better already. We're going in chronological order, it looks like. Nothing for killing the magisterium and escaping the church, hey. So the next one should be for the Siren Queen or Orvad in the trial. Hey. What? Bonatresel, you really have a thing for skeletons. Have you tried dating one? Effect, plays a funky music when you fight with or against skeletons. More instruments are added for each skeleton present. Nyahahat.